Test, test. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a seat and get ready to start. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes, okay? Okay. Welcome to the 15th New Albany High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We have been through this for 15 times. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. My name is Bob Dush. I'm the co-chairman of the Hall of Fame committee. I'm a New Albany graduate. I taught for 47 years here, and I also coached for a long time. We have, with this group today, we will have 163 members in the New Albany High School Hall of Fame. That goes back to the late 1800s, I think, was one of our first inductees. We have a little mishap in that we had lost some plaques. They have been replaced, and they'll be going up here in the next couple weeks. And that's what the plaques on those tables are. They're not this year's group. They're up here. We have with us today the mayor of New Albany, Jeff Gahan, and his wife Susie, both New Albany High School graduates. I think it's appropriate to graduate. Okay. Now, we also have several Hall of Fame members here today. Would the 14 members that are already been inducted please stand up? That's Jamie Abersole, Dave Barksdale, Jim Binkley, Craig Flora, Ed Gerlitz, Carol Rickmer Hart, Greg Neely, David West Reynolds, Larry Rickey, Carolyn Wells, Laura Morris McGurk, Don Unruh, Susan Adams, and myself. It is an honor. Restrooms straight through the open area there at the far end by the auditorium is where the restrooms are located. Following this program, there will be a reception in that open area, and the New Albany Floyd County School Corporation nutrition assistant chef A.C. Collier and staff has prepared it. We have with us today as the MC Mr. Kent Taylor. Mr. Taylor's been with us for several years. He is now the sports anchor at WLKY, and he keeps this event on his schedule, and he moves it real fast. I even heard a plug the other night for this from him on his sports show. Okay, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor. Oh, I do. I'm sorry. When you come up to speak, the inductees this year, please adjust the microphone and keep close to it so that everybody can hear. Sorry. Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I have to keep it on the schedule because Bob will call me next month and say, hey, by the way, don't forget to write down this Sunday in September. It goes back, I'm not even sure what the first year that I started doing this was. I was actually filling in for my good friend, John Asher, and he called me and he said, I've got something else. Can you do this on Sunday? And I am a huge Denver Broncos fan, and I had turned down some tickets. They were playing the Bengals that day, and I had turned down the tickets because I wanted to watch the game at home, but I was like, John was a very special friend of me. I was like, yeah, sure, John, I'll do it. And I come, and I was going to, come do the event, 1 o'clock game, go home, watch the game, didn't want to know the score at all. I get in my car, turn the radio on, and the first thing I hear is Kyle Orton throwing a touchdown pass on the last play of the game to Brandon Stokely for the Broncos to win. So that was cool. So maybe, I thought, maybe I'm destined to do this, and I've been back every year since. I know we took off some years for COVID, but I'm happy to be back now. As Bob said, the sports anchor at WLKY, started a new job a couple months ago, so that's going great. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you all will watch as well. The invocation for today as we get started is going to be offered by Reverend Tony Alstott, the pastor at Wesley Chapel United Methodist Church, and the nephew of Mr. Richard E. Clipp, Jr.
Congratulations to all the inductees, and thank you to the committee for having me here. Let us pray. God of all people, we take this moment to acknowledge you as the creator of earth and everything in it. We offer you our thanks for the people that are here today to celebrate this wonderful occasion. We give thanks for those who organize this event and make it possible. We are grateful for the people who will be inducted into the New Albany High School Hall of Fame. May we not only remember their achievements, but may we strive to pursue the character of commitment and sacrifice that has taken them to these great heights. We are also surrounded by a great company of Hall of Fame recipients from past years who are present with us or whose pictures adorn this building and whose footsteps echo in these halls. We ask that you bless our time together in the strength of your love. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special music presentation by members of the NAHS Chamber Orchestra, directed by Angela Thomas, followed by the singing of the school song. All right, everybody stand up. Let's sing the school song. Thank you, Susan Adams, ladies and gentlemen. And she pretty clearly wrote on my script here, "You don't lead," 3 exclamation points. She must have heard me sing before. However, I will say I feel an even deeper connection to the school because my daughter, who's 11 now, did sing the national anthem at a couple semi-state basketball games here in February, January or February, and it was probably she's done it a couple times. She's done it at Bellarmine, Louisville Bats, Racing Louisville, and that might have been the biggest crowd that she ever sang in front of at those semi-state basketball games. So that was pretty cool. All right, now as we get started here. First of all, what an impressive class. Every year I do this, it makes me, wonder what I've been doing with my life because these people have accomplished so much over the course of their lives. And when you have the oldest public high school in the state of Indiana, obviously you have a deep pool to choose from. I do want to remind everyone, when you do come up to accept your award, you make your speech and then stay up here for just a second. And let me read my last line here. And I will also say, Bob came up and asked me if I wanted a chair. I call that the Lee Kelly commemorative chair because Lee's speech was over 30 minutes. And just when we thought that wasn't going to happen again the next year, there was another one that was over 30 minutes. So, obviously celebrate yourself, but maybe not 30 minutes. All right, let's get to it. Our class of 2023, the New Albany High School Hall of Fame. Our first inductee is Richard E. Bowling II, the class of 1985. Rich's pathway to the stars took him in many directions following his formal education until he found his niche with a technology company enabling commercialization of space. The company creates payloads for the International Space Station. You see what I'm talking about? Like, what do we do with our lives? As well as other scientific endeavors beyond the confines of Earth. Rich.
Thank you so much. I want to recognize today my family. With me today are my 2 dear sisters, Melody and Melinda, both graduates of New Albany High School. My niece, Melissa. My wife of 31 years, Dawn, who, despite being a Floyd Central grad, did teach here at New Albany High School for a couple of years, so we'll check that box. And our 2 children, Alex and Abigail. And then, not to be overlooked, the best in-laws a man could have, Ron and Carol Lamb, also both New Albany High School graduates. So thank you all for being here and sharing this important day with me. I'd also like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I'm grateful to be included among today's distinguished inductees. This is truly a day that I will never forget. I was a student here for 3 years, graduating, as Kent said, in 1985. It's a 3-year span over the course of one's life. 3 years may not seem to be very significant, but my days in these halls have cast a decades-long shadow. And while I had many great teachers and coaches here, Lee Kelly and WNAS, did I say that right, alums, helped me understand the importance of storytelling and how to connect with an audience, whether that audience was one person or 1 million people. I've been very, very lucky in my career to be able to enjoy serving an industry that I love. And if chance only favors the prepared mind, then I have Lee and so many others at New Albany High School to thank for pouring themselves into me, preparing me, and equipping me to lead a life which I hope has been and will continue to be impactful to our community. And lastly, there are 2 people who are no longer with us that I also want to remember. Our parents, Richard and Beverly. Dad had an 8th grade education and joined the Air Force at age 17 to get regular access to food and clothing and shelter. Mom dropped out of Tell City High School in 1954. They married and moved to New Albany when Dad got a job at GE. But on June 3rd, 1976, Mom, wearing her Sunday best and a red, black, and white corsage, received her own New Albany High School diploma after attending night classes at the age of 40. Yeah, give it up for Mom. And through this, through the nearly 50 years that have passed, we can look at this Polaroid of Mom standing up, walking down to get her diploma. And you can see the eagerness to count herself as a New Albany High School graduate. The picture is faded, but that sentiment certainly is unmistakable. In recognizing me today, you're also honoring Beverly Bowling, who set such a great example for our family, and it is to her that I dedicate this. Thank you.
For your inquisitive mind and business sense that reaches out into space, as well as for your service to your profession and community in a wide variety of ways, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kip.
And a true testament that anything is possible, even as a Floyd Central grad. You can get in the front row of the New Albany High School Hall of Fame banquet. You just have to marry a New Albany grad. Impressive stuff. Our next inductee, John R. Berger, faculty member from 1979 to 2019, a beloved U.S. history and economics teacher. John Berger devoted his life to his students, developing an honors course and overseeing the International Baccalaureate program at the end of his teaching career. As a head coach of many highly successful baseball teams and an assistant football coach, John demonstrated his leadership and deep care for the young men participating in those programs. Coming to speak on behalf of John are his 3 daughters, Mindy, Jamie, and Katie.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here, and we want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for this wonderful honor for our father, John Berger. I am Mindy Dablow, the oldest of the Berger daughters, along with my sister, Jamie Berger Williams, and my sister, Katie Berger. We do have some other family members that I want to recognize that are here today. My husband, John Dablow, who is a New Albany High School graduate. My 3 children, Poppy's beloved grandchildren, Anna, Caroline, and Jack. My mother-in-law, Janie Willman, along with Mike Cassie. Janie was a New Albany graduate as well, and Mike had my dad as a teacher and coach in his time at Providence, as well as my cousin Shelley, who traveled down here this morning from the Indianapolis area to be here with us today. And she's also a New Albany graduate. So thank you all for being here today. We can't express enough how honored we are for my father to receive this special recognition. Actually, 2 years ago today, on a Sunday, the anniversary of his death is actually Tuesday the 26th, but he did pass away 2 years ago today, very unexpectedly. And never did we imagine that just 2 years later, we would be here on his behalf accepting this award. He was gone too soon, but his impact was great. And I can't thank, there's many of you out there even today that have come up to say something to us. We love nothing more than to hear the impact that our father had on those of you that had him as a teacher and a coach. It means the world to us. So with that, again, we thank you for this honor. We also want to remember my mom, Mary Jane Berger, my dad's wife of 49 years, and she passed away last December. So it's been a very rough year for our family, but today, again, we want to remember the celebrations and the accomplishments that and the impact that our father had on many here at New Albany High School. Thank you.
Let me say my little thing here. For his exceptional teaching abilities and service to NAHS, and for his outstanding career, especially as a baseball coach, we induct John Berger into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. Our next inductee, Richard E. Clipp, Jr., from the class of 1971, an outstanding football and baseball player at NAHS. Dick was also truly excelled in wrestling, earning 4 varsity letters while being very active in school activities. He taught English his entire career at Corydon High School while coaching several sports. His great achievement there was starting the wrestling program, through which young men earned many championships for decades. Speaking for him is his very good friend, Virgil Casper.
One apology. Karen informed me Wednesday I had to do the speaking. And it may sound familiar, it's because I wrote what's in the book, but someone took it and made it better, which I thank them dearly. But before I begin, I just want to introduce Dick's family and friends who came to honor him. And though you might not do this, I want to do this. I'd like to introduce his family. First, his wife, Karen, Meredith, his daughter, Enrique, his grandson, Lola, his granddaughter, Tony Allstott, his nephew, Rhonda, Tony's wife, Anya, his great-great-niece, Alicia, Karen's sister, and Penny, my wife and friend of Dick and Karen. And if you noticed, she has Jeff colors on. We'll let her get out of here alive. But I thank you guys for being here today. Dick, or Bear, however you remember him, always loved sports. He played them when he was in elementary school and high school and junior high school. It was a time when you weren't pressured to play one specific sport the entire time. Kids could play 3 and sometimes 4 sports during the year. And Dick played all that he could. And when he could no longer play them, he watched them. And if he wasn't watching them on TV, he was watching them at school or some stadium with Karen or his Aunt Janine. He especially loved watching his kids and his grandchildren play. And it's no wonder his love for sports made him want to coach one day. He had some of the best coaches in the state coaching the very sports he loved the most, and they were all in the New Albany-Floyd County system. My memory keeps me from remembering all of them, but I did give it a shot. At Green Valley, the only one I remember is Mr. Miller. He coached everything that we did. Mr. Henry, Mr. Ardrey, Mr. Snelling, Mr. Jones, Mr. Schleister at Scribner, and Mr. McCaffrey, Mr. Austin, Mr. DeMuth, Mr. Douche, Mr. Thrasher, and Mr. Sacco at New Albany. And let's not forget his dad. And if you remember any of these coaches, then you know this is one hell of a brain trust of coaches. These men loved what they did, and they excelled at it. And Dick was a student of them all. He had experiences with each of them and could use anything they taught him, and he did. And as much as Dick wanted to be a coach, he had one problem. As much as he wanted to be a coach, he didn't like the academic side of school. It wasn't that he couldn't do the work, he just didn't want to. But it didn't take him long to understand that if he wanted to coach, he'd have to do the work for school. He graduated from New Albany and went on to Indiana State to become an English teacher, which is kind of funny because that meant he'd have to read all the time, something, and this would put him back doing the very thing that he didn't like. And I guess he gave in as long as it didn't interfere with his reading of the daily racing form. From there, he started teaching and coaching at Corden High School. He coached football, baseball, wrestling, golf, both boys and girls. The latter he began on his own, and just about any sport he was asked to coach because the school couldn't find anyone, or some student asked him to start a sport so they could play it. A true story. A young girl came up to him one day in the hall and asked him if he could coach girls golf. I'm sorry. He told her if she could find enough girls to make a team, then he would. She did, and he began the school's first official golf train. But the one sport he excelled in coaching was wrestling. The Optimus Club in Corden asked him to take over their AAU program and take it to the high school level. He took the program and ran with it, letting anyone who wanted to wrestle join and going out his own to convince others who thought they would benefit by doing it. And this included kids who were about to get kicked out of school. And so by joining the wrestling team, they remained in school. On his first team, he had 2 kids who placed in the sectional. And Tony Allstott went 5-10. You don't think that's very good, but that's quite an accomplishment when he'd never wrestled before. And I'm sure Dick's accomplishments are in his bio, but you need to understand just how good of a coach Dick was. He had the ability to reach kids in a way that made them know that they could excel, and he did it in every sport he coached and also in the classroom. Oh my gosh. Dick was an outstanding coach, husband, grandfather, teacher, friend, and New Albany Bulldog. I'm so happy that he's being honored here today and become a part of this distinguished group. Thank you.
For his long involvement with wrestling and other sports as a participant and coach, and his strong devotion to students in the classroom and on the mat, we induct Richard E. Clipp Jr. into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. Our next inductee, Elizabeth Barth Cody, from the class of 1926. Devoted to her beloved New Albany, especially the downtown areas, B.B. Cody enjoyed life to the fullest during her busy pursuits at NAHS, followed by the study of chemistry in college. She extensively studied every corner of local history through lifelong research in the buildings and businesses of the city, while she enjoyed many volunteer endeavors through a variety of organizations. Speaking on behalf of his mother is Terrence Cody.
Kind of weird being up here to accept an award for your mother who's been dead for 23 years. I've really been nervous today. I really didn't know what I would say until today. Elizabeth Barth Cody, Jane Barth Anderson, and Stuart Barth Ragey were the 3 daughters of Oscar Barth and Helen Krebs Barth. Today, present are Mary Krebs and her husband Lynn. Mary is my first cousin, and she is BB's niece. BB was my mother's nickname because she was the baby. Then also present are great Alan Krebs and Paula Hilbrick. Also present is Peggy Cody, my wife, whom I dearly love, and whom my mother dearly loved. Also, Amy Meyer, who is my daughter-in-law. She's married to Patrick, and Patrick is stuck in New York. And present is my son, Shane Cody, and our grandson, Fox Allen Cody. Unfortunately, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention my first cousin, Lucy Anderson Kerr, Andy and Jenny's mother. She and her husband, Ned Kerr, were proud graduates of New Albany High School, as are Mary Krebs and Lenny Krebs. In going through the program, and my mother would want me to say this, you should remember those who have been before you and what you've learned from them and who your friends are and how they affect your life. And I was going through all of the members of the New Albany High School Hall of Fame. Sherman Minton, my father knew him well. He was the last surviving, my father was the last surviving member of the law firm Stotzenberg, Weathers, Minton, and Mabee. As Leslie Craig Hendersaw knows, we all had to use the book written by Charles Prosser on the law of torts in law school. I grew up with Jim Bright, 2010. Gordon Rainey's wife, Evelyn Rainey, was my third grade teacher at Holy Trinity Elementary School. Jerry and Alice Miles I've known for most of my life, and what a wonderful example they are to the community. Then Susan Adams and Frank Adams. Susan's parents and my parents were good friends. And Susan, I've had so much fun with you in this endeavor. Gene Spider Murphy administered a few licks to me at Providence High School. Jim Morris, who Greg and Larry know very well, was a fine man, and I learned many things from him. How could I not mention my former law partner, Greg Neely, who we've been close since law school started in the fall of 1971. Of course, we knew each other before then. And then Larry Rickey, who I knew from elementary school and who was inducted last year, and Greg previously. Then we have David Barksdale, the Floyd County historian, who was a pet of my parents. Spent many an hour with them. And then Sally Newkirk, the former executive director of the Floyd County Museum, and she and my father had a special relationship. Now, there is one member of the Hall of Fame that if my mother was here, she would start laughing immediately. So, I'm a graduate of Providence High School. Started school there in the fall of 1963. Greg Neely has always asked me, why didn't you go to New Albany High School? Well, I'm going to tell you. My father was a Catholic and a New Deal Democrat. My mother was a Republican, a Presbyterian, and so there were compromises made all through my growing up and through their marriage. So when it came time to go to high school, my dad wanted me to go to St. X in Louisville because that's where he went. My mom wanted me to go to New Albany High School because that's where she went. So what do you think the compromise was? Providence High School. First day of class at Providence High School, Latin. This woman walks in the room, or I might say kind of slowly entered the room. And I kind of caught her name, didn't remember, get home, and I said, Mother, I've got this Latin teacher, and she says she knows you. And I said, I think her name is Miss Ricketyback. And she went, no, my gosh, that's Atelka Rockenbach, and I had her in New Albany High School in the 20s. So I had her for 2 years, and then she finally retired. Now, thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for bestowing this award on my mother. She always called herself a Hausfrau. That was the German in her. And she ran the house. She raised me. She supported her husband. And let's think about it. That was the times. Women did not have the opportunities then that they have now. It's what the times dictated. She didn't have a chance to break the glass shield. She didn't have the chance to be a social influencer. But she had the chance to be the best she could be, which she was. And so in accepting her induction into the Hall of Fame, I'm accepting it on behalf of all the female New Albany High School grads who never had the opportunities that recent and current NAH students have.
For her active and lifelong devotion to the history of New Albany and its people, as well as her involvements with a variety of volunteer activities and causes, we induct Elizabeth Barth Cody into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. Thank you. Our next inductee, just a kid, Jason Fleener from the class of 1994, a faculty member here from 1997 to 2017, an outstanding student with many activities, including his introduction to broadcasting through the tutelage of Lee Kelly. Jason Fleener zipped through college to return to his alma mater to teach English and take on a variety of roles in his career here. Now, his last position was with his beloved WNAS FM and TV, which garnered many, many awards over the years. Lured to a magnet school in Las Vegas, Jason continued his winning ways both in communications and with the state champion bowling team. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason.
Hello. First off, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I was on the committee for a few years. Susan, thank you for the 5 emails reminding me it's only 3 to 5 minutes. Furthermore, thank you for giving me the paper saying you can have all the notes you want as long as it fits on this. I really do appreciate that, but it really does mean a great deal, so truly thank you. I would like to recognize my family who, I have a quick story to actually tell about my family who is here today. My beloved wife is here. She's put up with me for almost 30 years. We met at Indiana State, and I honestly could say there's no way I would be here right now if she were not. She means so much. One of my 2 kids are here, and one of them, she was wonderful. She surprised me by being here. She lives in Las Vegas. She thought it would be a wonderful surprise to just show up at the Hall of Fame. What she didn't think of was We could be on the same airplane. So I'm sitting there in lucky row number 13, and all of a sudden I look and I'm like, that's my son-in-law. And then I turned around and my grandson was standing right behind the row waving at Pappy. He's the cute redhead sitting right there. That's Mason. This is after I told them, do not waste the money. WNAS will cover this. It will be on YouTube. You've heard every story I'm going to tell. Don't be here, but I'm so happy that you did. My brother is here. His wife is here. My nephew is here, Joey, Jennifer, Jacob, my niece Jordan. I can keep going with J names. That trend continues. My wife's mom surprised us as well by driving down this morning from north of Indianapolis. So Hall of Fame committee, again, thank you for taking 2 extra tickets that we didn't know were going to show up today. That is greatly appreciated. I did want to say one thing just about this hallway. I know it doesn't seem very significant, but to me it really does mean a great deal. When I became assistant principal at New Albany, one of the goals we had was to make this a welcoming environment. We wanted to show off the history of New Albany, what is great about New Albany High School. So if you hate the plaques for the Hall of Fame, I apologize, I designed them. Sorry. But when I look to my left and I see the Outstanding Senior Award and I see my daughter's name on it, that means something. When I look at the decal that's straight behind that my dad designed and put up, New Albany High School graduate as well, that means something. When I look at the pennants that Laura McGurk and I decided, wouldn't it be great to show off all the places that New Albany High School graduates could go, that means something. This hallway means something to me. I know I wasn't the biggest fan when it moved out of the cafeteria because I wanted to eat, but this is a great venue for this. Oh, and you need a chair. Sorry. Sorry. The next thing I wanted to bring up was I wanted to thank my daughter again, because Bob said, make sure that you get close and adjust the microphone. And my daughter whispered in my ear and said, he's not talking to you. So thank you, Emily. There are a couple other people here that I am extremely grateful that they came as well. I went to Fairmont. I went all through New Albany schools, Fairmont. Carol Atz in the Hall of Fame was my principal. Walking into kindergarten, I actually met someone, you standing in line to get into kindergarten. His name was Jeremy Bartley, and we started talking then, and now, over 40 years later, we still talk every week. He comes out to Vegas. I come here, not nearly as often. I realize there's a little more in Vegas than there is here. For some reason, he wants to come visit me more than he wants me to come to New Albany. But we have been friends literally since before kindergarten started. He has been my best friend the entire time, and I am so glad that he is here. As my time continued at Fairmont, I was very fortunate to be able to stay in the same school. Met Rick Ballard, who is also here today, and we also have continued our friendship, even though there's still a card debacle that I'm sure he still holds against me. But lifelong friends are established through New Albany. Lifelong friends continue as you go on. I went to, as a student, to New Albany High School, obviously, graduating. Lee Kelly, to say means a lot to me, would be the understatement of the year. When I think of what could I do when I grow up, Lee Kelly is what I want to do when I grow up. I will literally tell my wife, I hope that I am half as good of a grandparent as Lee Kelly was. I know I'm not as good of a teacher as Lee Kelly was. Lee really is the epitome of what I think is excellence. In all facets of life, he motivated me. When I was playing football, I hurt my leg, and he said, no, you didn't hurt your leg, you just found your voice. and you're going to be on the radio. We're going to make this happen. And okay, not a problem. And then when we were on TV, and he said, you know what, you really do have a face for radio. We're going to stick to radio with you. Okay, we can do this. But that was at New Albany, where I had the best teachers. Literally, the first person that I met when I walked in the door was homeroom, and Craig Flora was my homeroom teacher who tried to give me good advice. I didn't take it, Craig. You were right, I was wrong. But every teacher I had an impact. I was so fortunate in the people I had at New Albany High School. Then I went to college, where I met my beloved wife at the Indiana State University Library, where I was wearing a snazzy sweater and she was the hot blonde. So it worked out very well. Came back to New Albany. I got hired. Carol Atz was in charge of human resources, and Steve Sipes was the principal. John Sharp was the assistant principal, but he was transitioning out and Janet Page was moving in. So I walked into the room for the interview, and I was sitting there, and I sat there for 10 minutes. And then Carol Atch came in and said, has anyone met with you yet? And I said, not yet. And she said, well, go ahead home and we'll give you a call. And I remember, and this was before cell phones, but when I got home, on my answering machine, I had an offer for the job. And I called my wife and I said, they didn't show up for the interview. I don't know if they just gave me the job because they felt guilty or what exactly happened. But I did get hired here at New Albany, where I spent the next 20 years. With being hired at New Albany, I was very fortunate to teach English 10, 11, 12, AP honors. I taught every level of English that we had. And many of those students have gone on to so many great things, and I love staying in contact with all of them. That is a true perk of teaching, getting to see all of these people. As a matter of fact, one of the videographers, that one, back there in the back for WNAS, this is an add-on, that's why I said you need a seat. I talked to him and he said, you ran the radio camp that I was a part of. And I looked at him, I'm like, yeah, but you were here, and now you're here, kind of deal. So getting to meet people, getting to be around people, all that entails. When I got hired, I was welcomed into Floyd's Barber Shop. And you can go up there now, and there's still the barber seat, the barber pole is up there. You have Bob, who would sit there, Lee Kelly, who would sit there. Susan, it's all on one piece of paper, one piece. Everyone else said they'd give me 30 seconds. So, but sitting up there, drinking the coffee that WNAS just let flow, I know how much it upset administrators, because we had an answer to every question, and they often didn't want to hear it. But the old timers sitting up there, we knew. And as long as the coffee is still rolling out of WNAS, New Albany High School will continue to be a great place. I have no doubt about that. One quick summer school story. And Craig, I think the statute of limitations is up. Craig Flora and I, we would take the kids at summer school to all kinds of various locations. And one summer, we decided Mark Twain had there was a movie about Mark Twain. So Craig and I go to the Science Museum, and it was about an hour before the bus was going to come back. So we said, hey kids, you're in a museum, go explore. All of a sudden, the worst sound you could ever hear comes through the PA. Would a representative from New Albany High School please report to the front desk? Every teacher knows exactly what I'm talking about. So Craig says, Jason, I got this, I'll go down, and then he comes back and he said, Jason, it wasn't a big deal. There was a kid, and this was not a Rhodes Scholar, who wanted to climb the rock wall, and he had to have an adult sign off for him. And I said, Craig, I can't believe that you signed off on this kid. He said, oh, it's not a big deal. I signed your name. I hate that story. It's true, but it is. I became assistant principal for the real principal, Don Unruh. Janet Page hired me, and I met, without a doubt, one of the finest human beings ever put on this planet, Virginia Guilford, who is also here. Virginia did my job as assistant principal, and then when I took over WNAS, Virginia did my job then. She has taken care of me now, and even when we come to Las Vegas, where she continues to take care of me. She is truly a saint, and someday her plaque will be up here as well for all that she has done at New Albany High School. She's truly a wonderful person, and I thank you for keeping me employed while I was here. I'm wrapping up, Susan, I promise. So then I went to, because I was told not to bash Floyd Central, so I'm not going to. I'm going to behave. I won't say anything bad about Floyd Central. It hurts to not do that, because if you cut me, red and black will still squirt out. But where I teach now is green, so I've had to adjust a little bit. But I went to Las Vegas. I've been teaching video production out there. I coach bowling, and here, ready? They don't mess around with state rings in Nevada. But being the bowling coach, being the video production teacher, and all I have done is taken what I did at New Albany and using that in Nevada in a magnet school out in Las Vegas. And it has paid great dividends. So if you're looking for a job, the pay is much better in Las Vegas than it is here. It does pay, the dividends are very great out in Las Vegas. But it has meant so much, and to the committee, I would be remiss. This means so much to me. After 20 years of giving many hours traveling, learning, going to every basketball game, boys and girls, going to every football game, traveling to every volleyball game, going to every baseball game, going to every softball game, broadcasting them all on 88.1 WNAS, and by request, telephone number 812. After reading untold announcements, doing the PA for 20 years, over 20 years out at Mount Tabor Field, I thank you very much for this. I wish that my dad's in the hospital, mom's no longer with us. I wish they could be here, for it as well. But I know that Dad will get a video of this, and it will mean a lot to them. So thank you all very much. And sorry I was over by 10 seconds.
Hold on. That was a lot for this. Hold up that piece of paper again.
Look, it's all there.
It's one-sided. And the Super Bowl rings are a nice touch.
Yes,
Look at that. That is impressive. For your impressive accomplishments as a student, as well as your 20-year career in several roles here, and then as you expanded your horizon west and continued excellence in education and coaching, and your longer than asked for induction speech here, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next inductee from the class of 1983, Leslie Craig Henderzaz. After highly successful foundation years at NAHS and Indiana University, Leslie fulfilled her childhood desire of becoming an attorney, the first female partner in a long-established firm in Indianapolis. Throughout her career, she's excelled in many facets of her profession and won numerous awards for her work in a wide variety of areas. Leslie?
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie. Thanks so much for all being here. Judge Cody, we'll probably have to call you up and enforce some rules. Seems like you give lawyers and radio announcers, mine's a legal pad, so actually I'll try to keep it brief. Thank you to the committee. I'm deeply humbled to be in the company of this esteemed group. New Albany is very near and dear to the hearts of all of my family. My sister and her family and my dad and mom still remain here. Here with me today is my husband, Alan Hendersaw. He is a 1981 graduate of Providence High School and Indiana University. My apologies for my voice. We had our 40th class reunion for the class of 1983 last night, so I spent the evening talking over very loud music. Alan is a Navy veteran of the battleship USS New Jersey and a lifetime educator. Alan and I have 3 daughters, Dr. Caroline Hendersaw, who is here. She is a doctor of dental surgery, currently a resident at IU School of Periodontology. Not present today is Caroline's fiance, Sean Hall, an IU medical student. Our oldest, Shelby White, she's in finance and wealth management, and she's tied up currently with the tax season for those of us who have extensions. Shelby is married to Corey White. He's a business development manager for an Indianapolis law firm called Ice Miller. Our youngest daughter, Madeline Hendersaw, who's in the process of transferring from Chicago, which wasn't big enough for her, to Los Angeles. In fact, this weekend. She's a graduate of the University of Indianapolis and supplies medical clothing and uniforms to healthcare and other service providers. My sister and her husband, Dr. Kimberly and Lenny Hartledge, are here. Kim is a career educator and currently serves as a deputy superintendent for Greater Clark Schools. Her husband, Lenny, is the vice president of commercial lines at Foundation Risk Partners. Lenny is a member of the Floyd Central Hall of Fame. Also with them is my niece, Scarlett Hartledge Shine. She's the foundation coordinator for Norton Healthcare, and she just finished her term on the New Albany-Floyd County Education and Foundation Board. Most importantly is my father, the guy who, along with my mom, Beverly Jan Craig, started it all for the Craigs here at New Albany. Mom was the class of 1954, and Dad is the class of 1955. We lost Mom last November, but I know she's still here with us in spirit. New Albany High School provided us with the resources essential to an enriched and flourishing life. We had the good fortune of so many dedicated teachers and coaches. Many of mine are here today. They genuinely cared about their students, not only their schoolwork, but their personal lives and families' interests and achievements. We experienced community at New Albany, a sense of belonging and an opportunity to contribute. Whether it was a class discussion with Miss Rank delivering ancient antiquities and mythology, who may kindly remind you, Miss Leslie, Miss Craig, preparation will cure what ails you. I heard that frequently in Latin class. Or Miss Kupfer, calling on students, myself included, to present the methodical steps of working through an algebraic proof. We, the students at New Albany, felt important. Ms. Kupfer, along with many other dedicated teachers, using methodical teaching skills and an uplifting approach, taught us, the young adolescents, the young adults of New Albany, arguably the most illogical portion of New Albany's population, to think and reason logically. She patiently worked with us to figure out how to motivate each student to master the material. When we did, we were rewarded and we were proud. I recently shared a fond memory with one of my classmates where Ms. Kupfer, who would keenly try to pit us a little bit against each other to see who could gain the highest marks, went above and beyond and took my friend and I out to dinner for a steak dinner. We were both swimmers, and she knew exactly how to motivate us. Our teachers watched over us after high school as well. Ms. Rank continued to write to me through college and well into adult life. Ms. Kupfer continued to teach, tutor, and nurture another generation of our Craig family. Ms. Kupfer has attended special gatherings. She remains a member of our family today. My mom and dad celebrated their 65th anniversary about 18 months ago. And it was Ms. Kupfer who appeared and offered Mom and Dad significant congratulations. It is an honor to be among you today. The credit, however, I feel is attributable to our fine educators who tirelessly worked to forge the essential foundation which New Albany High School afforded and continues to provide its students and future leaders. For this honor, I am grateful, and I'll dedicate it to the young man back there in the IU baseball cap, signed by Victor Oladipo. We know him as Poppy, Ron Craig. Thank you.
For your highly successful years at NAHS and your outstanding career in the field of law, as well as your devotion to family and community pursuits, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame. Congratulations. I thought you were going to say you lost your voice watching that IU football game last night, which went late into the night, but the Hoosiers were able to pull out the win in 4 overtimes. Our next inductee, John W. Richardson, a member of the faculty from 1965 to 1996. John Richardson continued a career, started at Hazelwood by becoming an exceptional English teacher here at NAHS, guiding students through literature and writing with great creativity and enjoyment. Upon retirement, he returned to his family farm roots and began a new chapter, which has turned into a thriving scene in the Indiana landscape. John?
I was just informed my tag was upside down. And as Ed Gerlitz would say, I put it that way so I can read it. Know who I am. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
With me today are my daughter Ann Payne, class of 1983, and my son Bill, class of 89, and his wife Laura, and with her are her parents, Tom and Becky Emerson. So I'm pleased to have them with me today. I'd like to begin with stating how fortunate I am to have been a teacher in the New Albany-Floyd County school system. Having attended, and I'm going to use this word, has not been used today, Purdue University, and being scheduled to graduate in the middle of the school year, I learned that a teacher at Hazelwood was going on maternity leave. I scheduled an interview the day after Thanksgiving. I had read parts of James B. Conant's The American High School Today and knew that one of the high schools he visited and researched was New Albany High School. Now, Conant was a professor at Harvard, and he wrote one of the most astounding evaluations of secondary education in the 20th century. So, I considered New Albany school system, New Albany High School, with awe and respect. As much of the administration was out of town for the holiday, for the interview, I went directly to Hazelwood to meet with the principal, Charlie Pratt, who lived close by on DePaul Avenue. He had left painting his house to conduct the interview. Charlie, incidentally, was also a Purdue graduate. He achieved his master's degree at Purdue University. Thank you, Janie. Anyway, he was, I lost my place here. It later became evident in this largely IU community that it was going to be hard to convince people that they even spoke English at Purdue, let alone had a degree in English. I must admit that I too had some prejudices. I wasn't prepared for the culture shock I experienced with the language and the idioms of Southern Indiana. Well, obviously, I got the job as English teacher at Hazelwood. So on a Monday morning in January, I found myself in a class of 8th graders ready to make them English scholars. I was hardly prepared for J.L. Embry and David Myers doing their howdy-doody routine. I enjoyed the students and the camaraderie of fellow teachers at Hazelwood, but I aspired to graduate to high school. 4.5 years later, Charlie Lamb, a teacher here at New Albany, left to go back to school to work on his doctorate. He later became a staff member at IUS specializing in children's literature. But that was my entree to New Albany High School, and I appreciate that very much. I did want to say something to Terrence Cody about his mother. When we first came to New Albany, we were Presbyterians and met Bebe. I said, Mrs. Cody, twice. She said, young man, do not call me Mrs. Cody. I am Bebe. I don't want to feel that old. And I'll also mention her sister, Stuart Reggie, who is also to be inducted. Stuart became a school board member. And I'm so pleased to say that she visited every classroom in the school system when she became a school board member. And we appreciated that so much. And I was going to mention a few things about the trends in English education. We went through a period of phase electives. Sounded pretty good at the time. 9-week courses of specializations. We would have such things as literature of the supernatural, visionary literature and rock music, if you remember that one or not. But, and we also had traditional 9-week courses. We had a course in composition, had a course in Shakespeare, and so on. But that was kind of a phase elective that phased out. So we went back to the more traditional semester of composition and literature. And one of the textbooks that I used was The Lively Art of Writing, which really was a vehicle for teaching students to learn how to write an essay. And I've had several former students who have said how much they appreciated that exposure, because when they got to college, they kind of knew how to write. That's a great thing. But the author, Lucille Von Payne, who wrote The Lively Art of Writing, said, use no unnecessary words. Use no unnecessary words. So thank you very much.
Thank you. For your outstanding career at NAHS as an English teacher extraordinaire, as well as other endeavors in the community, and then your second act as farmer and entrepreneur, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. Our next inductee from the class of 1984, Dr. Norman M. Rowe, with a strong foundation in his studies and activities here. Dr. Rowe went on to success in the sciences and in medical schools before embarking on a lifelong service in surgeries to improve his patients' lives enormously. His extensive research and lecturing experiences guide others to learn from his findings. Ever the philanthropist, Dr. Rowe's busy life exemplifies excellence. Norman?
Hi. I want to start off by thanking God for kind of guiding me through life to kind of get me here to this podium today. I also want to thank my mom, who's no longer with us, NAH class of 45, who there was no other alternative. You have to go to NAHS. My sister Ann, class of 81, who is unfortunately no longer with us, and my younger brother, Marvin, class of 86, who is also no longer with us. All of them played enormous roles in my life, and I, again, wouldn't be standing here at this podium if it wasn't for them. I want to thank the committee for giving me this honor, and there's no other word about it, honor. I am truly humbled. I'm appreciative, but I'm truly humbled by people on the committee saw forth to name me with my colleagues, my classmates, fellow alumni. It is truly an honor, and I do not take it lightly. I want to thank all my family who came here, my cousins, everyone who came to show support. I want to thank all my classmates, friends, who look exactly like they did the day we graduated here. I believe that everything that we do, everything we do in life, or everything we go through in life, both good and bad, kind of shapes us and makes us who we are today. And as you said here, and you look at your neighbor, and you look at the esteemed alumni who have walked these halls, you look at the faces on the plaques over here, the alumni. The one thing that, kind of draws everyone together, the common thread, is NAHS. None of us here, or who've walked these halls, would be where we are today if not for the education that we got, the camaraderie, the support from our teachers, our friends, the experience hanging out underneath the bleachers at the Burke Field. All of that made us who we are today, and I'm truly, truly grateful for that. New Albany, I think, imparts on all of us, or at least all of us who've come through these halls, we were taught, without a doubt, shoot for the stars, reach for the stars, but keep your feet firmly planted on the ground. It grounds you. And that is something that I will be forever grateful for having given me here at NAHS. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. For your life work, to use your abilities to help humanity and to alleviate suffering in several ways, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please get your plaque right here. Our next inductee from the class of 1968, Jacqueline Manor Taylor Boggs. Jacqueline led a busy life as a student at NAHS, both academically and in a variety of activities, including WNAS and chess. Her career took her all over the world, managing an international team in electronics, eventually leading to the presidency of the company. Jackie's volunteer community spirit has also played out in many ways in central Indiana. Jacqueline?
Can you hear me? All right, it's almost over. I listened to everyone. I didn't write anything. And I heard a lot of the same theme as far as thanking family, thanking friends, thanking NAHS, and listing all the people that are here. So I have to do that. But what I need to highlight is my best friend from the first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, Jackie Ruth, is here. We've been friends since 5, 6 years old. And I'm glad that she's standing up with me today. My best friend from junior high, who was also my college roommate, Linda Lawson-Schutz, and her husband are here. My daughter is here. And then Debbie Murphy-Line, who is also a good friend from junior high and high school, is here to join, witnessing that I don't make a fool of myself. I hope. And what I think the theme has been is that everybody wants to thank family and friends and education. And Mr. Richardson, I have to acknowledge you because you were my teacher. And you were sort of a partner in crime. Maybe you don't remember, but you made us write a lot of essays, so many essays. And I got really good at it, and you gave me A's every time. But I had a boyfriend in class, too, who wasn't so good at writing essays. So I wrote his and mine. And I had double duty. And what was really provoking is that you always gave me an A, but you gave him a C every time. And I knew I was good. And I was really kind of perturbed that what was wrong with my papers that I wrote from my boyfriend. So at the end of the school year, when it was safe and we were seniors and we were leaving, I mentioned it to you. And I said, how come Bobby got C's? And you said, Jackie, I knew you were writing all of them. So when I saw your name on the list, I thought, oh my God, he's going to remember that I cheated. Sorta. The other thing that I remember about the education, and I want to say in the New Albany school system, because I was a product of the housing project and a single mom, and we had no money, we had no car, we had very little of anything. And I got to go to Lee and Emery Elementary School. I still remember the school song. I'll sing it for you later if you want. And there was a library at that school that was absolutely outstanding. And Jackie Ruth and I got in trouble all the time for talking too much. So they pulled me out of class one time, and Mrs. Curry in the 4th grade took me to that wonderful library and said, we want you, special person, to straighten out the library and to make it great for the school and organize it. And I was thrilled to be singled out. So I spent a week. Everybody else was in class doing whatever. I was in the library not talking. And I was in the library organizing everything. And when I was done, I was so proud that I told Mrs. Curry to come in. And she immediately went out and got another 4th grade teacher and brought this other teacher in. And they were smiling. And I was basking in the glow of my wonderfulness. And then they said, well, what about the Dewey Decimal System? I had organized all the books in the library from tallest to shortest. It was the prettiest library. Every book, tall to short, tall. It was pretty. Now, I had to redo it with the Dewey Decimal System, which I'll never forget. But my library at home has 4,000 books, and guess how they're organized? Tall to short, the way it should be. But moments like that, and the time in the library, and the time in the schools, and the opportunities that I had at New Albany High School, education was absolutely the way out. And it was the education and doors opening and things being exposed that I never ever thought I could see or feel or whatever. And I finally got a job in an organization that had international business, who's joined the Navy See the World kind of a thing. I traveled all over the world for about 40 years and ended up, this next bump and this next bump, and you learn something new. So ended up pretty good, and I retired in 2015. But I got this notification that I was going to be put into this hallowed hall with these people that were so impressive on the paper. And the one thing that sticks with me is I really hope that in the generations that come after us, and when they go and they read the list of all the people who are already in the group, I kind of think, are they going to look at my name and think, wow, I'm in the same group as Jackie Taylor Boggs, whoa. And I hope that it keeps going, and that everybody appreciates it in the future as much as I do today. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. For your award-winning career in the field of international electronics and your community-minded spirit of service, we induct you into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our final inductee this afternoon from the class of 1935, Stuart Barth Ragey. Stewart's life embodied one of service and devotion to her dear hometown of New Albany, beginning with a busy, fulfilling life as a student at NAHS. Making a strong impact as a school board member, we've already heard about that, Stewart strengthened the influence of both institutions by her quiet, persistent desire for the improvement of these organizations. Speaking on behalf are her nephew and her niece, Terrence Cody and Mary Anderson Krebs. I only see Terrence Cody here. He's already been up here once. He's coming back up. Come on up. Congratulations again.
Mary elected me to do this by myself, much to my chagrin, I might add. You don't often get chances to rectify a mistake contemporaneously or near there too, but I misidentified my own cousin earlier. I think I said Paula Hilbrick, and that should have been Paula Krebs, who's married to Alan, and so Elizabeth Hilbrick, my cousin, and I apologize. Okay. And then, again, there's one other member of the Hall of Fame that was near and dear to my Aunt Sturdy, and that was Mary Stein. And Mary Stein was 2018 inductee into the Hall of Fame. And incidentally, she's also my godmother. So I could not let that pass. Now, I introduced our family earlier, but there are three people here on the Reggie side of the family. And first is my shirt-tail cousin, Reed Reggie, and his wife, Robbie, and Reed's mother, Pat Reggie, who would have been sister-in-law to my Aunt Sturdy. And Sturdy was, and Stewart, it's a woman. She was supposed to be a boy. She was born in her home. It took legal proceedings to get a birth certificate issued for her. But Aunt Sturdy. Now, I may be wrong, but I'm going to credit Susan Adams with doing most of the writing based on information she was provided by a number of people, and she did an outstanding job. And so I'm not going to go into what is in the program to an extent. But Sturdy's husband was killed in World War II. She never remarried. So Reed and I, and Mary and I, and Lucy and I never got to know our Uncle Ferd. And I can only imagine what he was like. Now I know what his brother was like, and he was a fine man. Now, Ferd paid the ultimate sacrifice in defending our country. Are there veterans here today? If you would, raise your hands. Okay, there's several. Stand up, please. Thank you, Leslie. Right. Now, Mary, Lucy, and I had a very special relationship with Aunt Sturdy, and I know Reed did as well. She died much too young. She had much to offer our community, but not enough time to complete all of it. Again, the program talks about her service to the library and the school board. She was compassionate, sincere, kind, and a wonderful woman. If she had had the opportunity to be a mother, she would have been outstanding, and I think I can say that on behalf of Lucy, Mary, and me. She had a very positive impact on our lives. But probably her most important contribution to our community was her service on the school board. This is my humble opinion, but she is the kind of person you would want to serve as a member of the school board. Students first, support the teachers, give them the tools they need to educate their students. That will be her lasting contribution to the education that this institution provides. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the third sister, Jane Barth Anderson. She was different than my mother and my aunt in many ways. She graduated from the Heron Art School in Indianapolis, if that tells you anything. She admitted that in the 30s, or maybe in the late 20s, that she happened to take a toke or two. And then tried to recruit me to get some for her, which I declined. And had she graduated from New Albany High School, and the reasons for which are not really known other than she was sent off to boarding school, I'm sure Mary and I would be standing up here for her today, as well as her grandchildren, Andy and Jenny. Now I'm going to end this by giving a shout out to Reed Ragey, whom Peggy and I saw last night at a concert in Louisville, Kentucky. First person we saw when we walked in. You can't make it up. But his band, the Louisville Brass and Electric Company, are playing at Turtle One Winery next Sunday, October 1st at 1 p.m. Peggy and I are going to be there because they play a lot of Chicago. But it's been a privilege to speak on behalf of my mother and my aunt. And in Mary and I accepting this wonderful award, we'll dedicate it to the teachers in the New Albany Floyd County School Corporation and this school.
For her many years of devotion and service to the people and institutions of New Albany, and for her care and concern for their education and improvements, we induct Stuart Barth Ragey into the NAHS Hall of Fame 2023. Congratulations. We are so close to being done. My wife has been texting me, so everybody's here. Act like you had fun. Let me take a picture to show her I actually did something today. There we go. This concludes the presentation of the New Albany High School Hall of Fame class of 2023. How about a big round of applause for all of our inductees? Thank you again for having me. I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Robert Douche here, and I'm sure he'll be calling me in the next couple days to remind me about next year's banquet. I mean, if you want me back, I don't know. Thank you.
We certainly do. Let's all give a big hand to Kent, please. He's got this down pretty good. All right. Following these few comments, there'll be a reception in the open area there to your left. Part of the reception will be from John Richardson, who donated some Benedictine, and from his I thought it was a winery, John, but that's the way I think, you know. Okay. There's a lot of people we need to thank. There was a lot of work involved in this. I'd like for the members of the committee to stand up, please, the Hall of Fame committee. We were right on schedule, but of course Jason talked too long. I particularly want to thank Susan. Susan Adams does so much work, it's just unbelievable. I don't know how she has so much time to do it, but thank you, Susan. All right. Nomination forms for the future Hall of Famers are in the registration area near the table in the back by the front door. The newest members, the ones inducted today in the Hall of Fame, we'd like for you to come forward and there'll be a group picture taken. Mr. Cody, I agree with you that we need more school board members like Stuart. Okay, let's enjoy. Go.